Um, I am, as Caitlin said, Eric Merkel-Sobotta. I'm the head of marketing and communications at Paradigm. Recently joined. I'm very happy to have this as my first public task at Paradigm. We have two very exciting speakers here today, experts on the subject matter from Princeton University Press, and I will let them introduce themselves so that I don't make any mistakes. So, Eric, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone. Thanks for coming today, and thanks for your interest in this. My name is Eric Crahan. I'm the editorial director for Humanities and Social Sciences at Princeton University Press. I'm excited to be here. I help co-lead the editorial group here at Princeton. But really, I'm also the history of science editor, and I keep a remit in the history of science. And one of the exciting things I get to do is publish Albert Einstein. And so I'm glad. I'm excited to talk about that with everyone today.
And I'm Paige Clunie, the Digital Partnerships Manager at Princeton University Press. Been here for about 3 years and was at Harvard University Press for 10 years before that, working on ebooks for academic libraries and also our digital platforms. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Paige. I think we'll start off. We'll ask Eric to maybe speak briefly about sort of the history of the Einstein papers, and there's some very interesting facts about how the papers are organized and who does what. So without further ado, Eric, why don't you set the stage?
Yeah, sure. I think first of all, Princeton University Press and Albert Einstein have long been associated. And when shortly after the 1919 eclipse that sort of confirmed Einstein's theory about the gravity being able to bend light, and he was on his worldwide tour, he came to Princeton and gave a series of public lectures that Princeton University Press first published in 1921. We were his first English language publisher. That book, The Meaning of Relativity, it was updated by Einstein many times over the course of his life and has been in print ever since. So we've been for well over a century. We've been Einstein's English language publisher. After he died, and there was a series of discussions in his estate, starting in 1970, the Einstein estate and the Princeton University Press Board of Trustees worked together with some key supporters, including the Hebrew University, who held the estate of Albert Einstein, joined together to really start what is one of the one of the largest and longstanding publishing projects in the history of science, which is the Albert Einstein papers. This was first founded in 1970. The first volume was published in 1987 and has been ongoing to this day. And so this remains one of the largest projects of sort of fully effort to document Einstein's life and work.
Mm-hmm. And why are you doing this now? Why is this database being created now?
Yeah, I think it's a really important time. So that Einstein's life has worked. The papers projects have worked chronologically, starting with the beginning of his life and moving forward. We've learned, the print editions to date have moved up to 1930. And so one of the things that we're taking advantage, we in publishing this is really thinking of this as a sort of inflection point. In 1930, Einstein left Germany. He traveled to the United States and he became a permanent emigre, a political exile, and then relocated into the United States in 1933. And this period really is like an inflection point, where Einstein goes from being a sort of not only a world leading scientist, but becomes a political figure and an activist. And so this kind of point in terms of the publishing is opportunity for the change in the content and the material of Einstein's publishing, but also is an opportunity for us to reevaluate and really invest in Einstein's future, thinking about how do people need to access and work with Einstein in the years ahead, and really think about a very modern platform that really gives people an access into his work and thought.
And could you give us an idea of what's included and where it's coming from, and how it's going to be put together?
Sure. So the papers project is worked is in the there's an editorial team at Caltech, the California Institute of Technology, which has been ongoing for a long time, which works in collaboration with the main holdings of Einstein at the archives that are at the Hebrew University. Really, this team has worked diligently, have access to the full measure of Einstein's writings and thought, and also all the materials he's received. And so what this is, this represents a full sort of explication of his work throughout the course of his life. And what gets fascinating is that, you know, at the beginning of his life, this material was sort of like was full comprehensive. You saw the full nature of everything he was going. But as it's moving on in life, the volume is going up and up and up and up. And so we see this just enormous like swelling of material as through his breakthrough and his worldwide celebrity. And so the nature of this material is his writings, his thought, the correspondence, what he's receiving, and then also the annotated expertise of the people who are transcribing and forming this material and their commentary of trying to understand and interpret this material.
And is that aspect what makes this unique, or is there something else that?
Well, first of all, no one else has access to
Yeah.
this material. So I think what's most unique is both the expertise of the editorial team, which really are experts today, history of math, history of physics, history of science, but also then they're able to interpret their interpretation of the and sort of really lay into context the nature of this material when it's being published, what Einstein is doing, and then its ongoing significance.
You mentioned Caltech as sort of where the papers are curated and edited, and it's not just to make that clear. I mean, most people will probably know this, but it's just not just about physics. It's about the history of science. It's about his role in as somebody who argued very forcefully against for disarmament, and also more of his sort of his role in society, wider role outside of physics. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, the potential, you know, Einstein is a historical figure, and I think his ongoing relevance, and I think why people are continuing to today is not just, I mean, clearly he was one of the most influential in the history of science, general relativity, special relativity, the foundations of quantum physics. These are things that we're still wrestling with and confirming in his theories to this day. But his role as a humanitarian, as a philosopher of science, as a politician, his work with pacifism, his role with the atomic bomb, with the foundation of Israel. Einstein is a figure whose humanism is resonates to this day into our popular culture just as much as his scientific contributions, and it's why he resonates, why his ongoing sort of importance. It's not just confirming theories, you know, ideas that he was thinking of scientifically. Now we have the technology to confirm, but also his you know, what does this mean for our world? How does he understand it? How he thought about it, his place in humanity, the meaning of this. This is all in the material worked with the by the archivists, and what the papers hope to present.
Brings me to something that actually Paige can also jump in on, but what's actually going to be included? How long? How are we going to start? What's included? I mean, you mentioned things that he received. There's the question of, you know, obviously a lot of it's going to be in German, or some of it, or, you know, obviously translations will be made, but could you tell us what's included? What's going to be included in it?
Page, or yeah, so I mean, you want to do this page? Yeah, sure.
I was going to say, you can take the content, Eric, and then I, you know, could talk a little bit about the database itself.
Yeah. So the content of the material, so is the nature is his writing, and the idea is to present it both in German and with select translations of his most major work. The other thing is, of course, is the correspondence he receives, and his response to that. And so you know, Einstein throughout his life wrote in German, and even when he spoke English. And so you know, so there's an importance to sort of present both. Increasingly, as he becomes a public figure, there's a real sense of like what he's speaking about, and so transcripts of his speeches and articles about him and things he's right. So especially after 1930, and this is what we're really excited about including in the database, is this increasing flood of material about Einstein, which in some ways is a challenge for the editorial team to really select what's the most important material about him, and including in, because the material becomes just incredibly voluminous, especially from this period forward.
Yeah, and as we kind of prepare for the nature of Einstein's work to change at this point, becoming a public figure, the volume of work, it's was really a time to improve the experience of interacting with the content and how scholars were going to use it. And so what was made available online a decade ago was not meeting the needs as a broad and fully modern research tool. And so with this partnership with Paradigm, we're undertaking the work of future-proofing and preserving for generations of scholars to really make this content accessible. And there's just so much potential to invest in robust search functions and metadata tagging for all of the key historical figures that Einstein is interacting with throughout his life, developing different research journeys so that scholars have multiple entry points into the content. And we think that will just really vastly improve the experience, just because the breadth of this material and the historic importance is just, having different ways into it will be really key for scholars. And the incredible editorial team has been at work on this for decades, and their work will continue for years to come. So we're in it for the long haul, and most importantly, we've learned over time through helpful conversations with libraries about elements that are really critical for digital access. So the importance of integrating this database in discovery layers and indexing and MARC records, because as the librarians here know, what good is a resource if your patrons can't find it? The WCAG compliance, counter-compliant usage statistics, all of these technical considerations are going to be a really key part of the database. We already have the amazing content, and now we're going to fully integrate it into the academic library ecosystem.
Excellent. What about timing?
So the desired timing right now is we're in development and the back end of 2026 for publication.
Mm-hmm. And I'd just like to remind all of our guests, you can ask questions in the Q&A box even while our speakers are speaking. We'll have time at the end, or indeed if there's something burning, we can take them in between. Is there anything, Paige, that you can tell us about what will be able to be done with the database? Can it be included in learning materials, collection development? What are the possibilities?
Yes, all of that. So being able to link to Canvas and Blackboard for use in course materials, just all of the features for single sign-on and IP authentication for libraries. All of the feedback that we've received from libraries on what is most useful for integrating these databases for their researchers will be possible. And this will just really it's not going to be kind of just a static page. It's just going to be, disaggregating this work from print volumes is going to allow researchers to just explore the full breadth of the work.
Excellent. We have a question from Charlie Remy about the 2026 launch. Will all content be released at that time, or will it be ongoing over several years?
Yeah, I mean, so the editorial project is ongoing, and we expect it. So the opportunity, we want to release at that point everything we have today, which is sort of Einstein's life till 1930. Einstein lived till 1955, and so our plan is to continue to release material up and through the completion of the project. We anticipate it'll be still several decades, at least two, and so that's. But with the initial launch, that we hope to list what we have to date.
And another question, a follow-up from the same person, is what percentage of the content will be translated into English, and will the translations be done manually, i.e. by human beings?
Yeah, no, the translations to date have all been done manually and vetted by the team. I don't know exactly the percentage of that. I would say at least 50% of the material, but I don't have an exact figure of the ratio between the original German material that's been annotated and presented versus how much has been translated. It's a very good percentage. In the way the print volumes have worked is generally there's been a German edition and then a translated edition, which is approximately the same size, but it's not one for one. It's a pretty significant percentage though.
Mm-hmm. And a question from Richard Blyler is asking for confirmation that is only Einstein's papers in correspondence and not the correspondence of people such as Bohr and Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I
Unless,
mean, there are elements of sometimes from other material, but
Mhm.
it's not exhaustive, and it's certainly and some of that has been parts of separate projects. So those would, but there are some instances of that material, correspondence to Einstein that is in the papers.
Mhm. Hold on. Okay, yeah, sorry, Richard. I didn't see the second part, but I guess the question's been answered, and that was
Mhm.
correspondence with such fellow researchers as Bohr and Oppenheimer.
Yeah, yeah.
That probably would be included, right?
Yeah, there are elements of that that are
Yeah.
definitely that are in the
Mhm.
present, and lots of other luminaries as well.
Mhm. There's a question on the purchasing models.
Yeah, the purchasing models, obviously you can be in touch with your paradigm rep for those, but there will be the perpetual access option for purchasing. And then I think with the pricing you would speak with the paradigm rep for that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be institution size, type, et cetera. Geographic region, tiered pricing will be available unless I'm mistaken.
That's right.
But I will be interrupted by someone from Paradigm if I'm talking nonsense, which I hope I'm not. I don't seem to be. So that's always a good thing. Let me just check the questions. Are there any more? No, that's it. Is there anything else? Any other questions that people might have?
Yeah, I mean,
Um, sorry?
oh, sorry. No, I was just thinking it was like one thing I'd like to talk about is like a little bit about what we hope to do. Like this is what we're
Mhm.
going to launch with, but we haven't really spoken with a little bit about what we imagine this could be. Yes,
Yeah.
this is going to be um this is going to be continuation of this ongoing which has largely been print centered editorial project.
Mhm.
But we also hope to really use it as a sort of one-stop portal or an entry point to a lot of related work. Princeton has not just published Einstein himself, but a lot of works about Einstein that include this material. So
Mhm.
while at the core, we anticipate having the Einstein papers and that editorial view, we also have
Mhm.
a range of products that we will release around it, like other from other authors that have used the archives, or also some other works that are just related to the archives, whether in the history of physics, the history of math, the history of science, American culture, American history. So over time, we see this as a place where we can take related publishing and use and interlink them a little bit with not just Einstein himself, but tell us a little bit more about the world and the
Mhm.
context in which this happens. And I'll just give one example, which is I think of a little bit about a few years ago when gravitational waves were confirmed to exist by another team at Caltech. Um, the idea of being able to then link that kind of work to that kind of current event discovery to Einstein's original work and sort of present that like here's what Einstein thought about this in the context to sort of give light unto that. We see that as another, kind of an opportunity for research journeys for people who are maybe not, or interested in Einstein, who are not researchers, as a way to
Mhm.
sort of give an entry into the material. We see a lot of different opportunities there as we're thinking about how to introduce Einstein in the world of history of science, history of physics around him into for individual users as well.
We have some more questions coming in. Marcy Rothman is asking what percentage will be completed at launch because it impacts how some libraries can purchase.
Yeah, the
Um,
I would say so. So the goal of the papers is to do the fullness of Einstein's life. Currently goes to 1930. He lived another 25 years, but of course those are 25 years of which he's essentially a world figure. Um, we think we're just around 50% at this point.
okay. And then further question from Marcy was what is the expected completion year? I think.
That's right. Yeah, this was if every publisher wants to know when things are going to get delivered and finished. I'm not entirely sure. The first volume was published in 1987. This I would say we probably have a good maybe 15 to 20 years to go.
15 to 20.
Yeah, it's hard to exactly predict, but
Yeah.
but the idea is to is to complete to the end. So
okay, then there's another question about whether this project, the database, is parallel to digital Einstein, or will the database replace it? So einsteinpapers.press.princeton.edu.
No, this is essentially like the product they're referring to is the sort of print connected digital version. That we see this as really the sort of modernized. We see this as replacing that that version.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for your questions as well. No open questions unless have I missed anything? Is there anything that we would like to discuss that I have that was not brought up in the questions, or that you, Paige, or you, Eric, feel should be communicated? Is there anything more on, I mean, we've had a discussion before. I'm fascinated with the history of it all. Hold on, Richard is asking, this is an informational session. Would we be able to share the database interface? I don't think we're.
No, we're at the very beginning stages of this, and this is our launch into it, and so I mean, you're privy to the early conversations, but we're so excited to also hear from librarians over desires, what's needed. We're excited to talk to our user groups as well.
Charlie's asking if there's any open access component to the project.
There is not. Yeah, there's not.
No. Okay.
I mean, one thing we do imagine is having, the material is still largely under copyright. We do imagine from occasion, like I think I mentioned the gravitational waves. I think there could be moments where we could ungate sections for general interest readers, but or just to introduce people to the various topics. But there's not an open access component.
Yeah, I think Eric touched on this a little bit, but just to mention the secondary materials that we have in our robust history of science list, we'll be able to add year-on-year volumes that publish to that in addition to the new Einstein volumes that will be coming. So that's, I mean, just a really exciting opportunity to have these conversations about the current research and modern implications of Einstein's work as we're continuing to grapple with his legacy.
Okay. Okay, I think unless are there any more questions from anybody? Now's your chance. I mean, I'm sure. Oh, here we go. Purchasing the initial offering will only include what's available at launch, I assume that means, or will it include Corey releases? I think. Charlie, could you clarify that? I don't know what a Corey release is. Will it include purchasing the initial offering will only include, oh, it's okay. Does purchasing the initial offering only include what's available now, or does it include future releases?
Yeah, Paige. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so we will have at launch about the 16 volumes that are already available, plus secondary materials, about 30 titles of secondary materials as well. Sorry, am I understanding the question about what's available at launch?
No, I think that
we can always follow up too. If I'm misunderstanding the question, we'll definitely follow up on email.
Okay, Charlie, I hope you got that. I think one other thing we might want to talk to is the dynamic FAQs.
Yeah, it'll be yes, we're developing FAQs for librarians, so please do send in your questions and we'll continue to develop the site and we can respond and update. And so your work with us helps us make it iterative, and yeah, we're really looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, I think in the chat there's a link to for custom quotes and more information. There's also a Folion page where there's more detailed information. I'm looking to the questions and answers. Are there any more? Here we go. This is great. Every time I say it, questions pop up.
No, it's always yeah.
That's great. Will the content still be available in print editions?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's yeah, no, that there's I think one thing that's really important to the editorial team and I think to us to the press is the endurance of the book and so we will continue to publish the print editions.
And then here we go. Another question. Will it be on a completely separate platform or with UPL ebooks, etc.?
It will be a separate platform hosted by De Gruyter Brill.
Did I miss any questions? No, I don't think so. Now's your chance, folks. No, I think have we covered everything? The last chance, Eric or Paige, to editorialize. Is there something we missed? Is there a question you were hoping for that wasn't asked? Because we can do that.
I just wanted to say that, I started at PUP 3 years ago, and this was one of the things that I was most excited to work on. And it's an honor to be Einstein's English language publisher and be able to carry this forward to new generations of scholars. So thank you for being on that journey with us.
I can only underline what Paige is saying. Yeah, no, we just think we're just so excited about the opportunity for people to access and to discover things, this material in whole new ways, and so we're excited to continue building on it and looking for feedback and ideas that we can incorporate.
Yeah, please email us if there's anything we missed or misunderstood, and we'll definitely be answering all your questions.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think after we'll close in a few minutes. People are Richard at UConn wants to be kept updated. I think we're going to keep everyone that was on this call updated anyway. I don't think we have any more questions. I'm asking Caitlin, is there a secret channel that you have that we know nothing about where questions have come in?
I don't. I think we've answered all the questions today, and we really appreciate you being here. So thanks again for joining us today, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Paige. Thank you, Caitlin. All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.